Hey guys, what's up? My name's Andrea, and I am doing a book review of Stephen King's The Gunslinger, which is the first book in a series called The Dark Tower. And so I did not like this book, so I'm just gonna get that out there right now. And I'll explain why. There are some aspects of it that I did enjoy. Just to give you a warning, there are spoilers, so if you have not read this book and you do not want it ruined, stop watching right now. Okay, so having said that, we'll continue. So, just a brief plot, some key points. Main character's name is Roland Deschain. He is the last gunslinger, and he is part of a world that has moved on, is how he always puts it. And in addition to that, he was okay, let me backtrack a little. So he is chasing the Man in Black, which is a dude named Walter, and his main objective is to get to the Dark Tower. But to do that, he's got to catch the Man in Black in this book. So, just to give a little backstory onto why he even started on this journey, from what I gathered in the book, he was training to be a gunslinger. His father was a gunslinger before him, as was his father, and down the line. He was forced to basically become a gunslinger early by Martin, who was a sorcerer who was also banging his mom. So, which Martin allowed that knowledge to be found out by him, basically. He set him up because he was hoping that Roland would fail the test and be sent west. But that's not what happened. Roland actually passes the test and becomes a gunslinger earlier than even his father. So, because of that, shit just goes to hell eventually, from what I gathered. It doesn't really, go really in depth as far as what happens, why he's chasing this guy, Walter, now and whatnot. But I know that him becoming a gunslinger and, finding out about his mom and Martin, and, Martin's betrayal of his father, who, pretended to be a good friend, to his father, was kind of a catalyst, from what I gathered, for things just going sideways. It just went downhill from there. And he's chasing Walter. His goal is to catch him, like I've said. And upon this journey, he passes through a place called Tull. And let me tell you about this. So, he kills everybody in this town. Everybody. Men, women, children, it doesn't matter. He kills them all. Because they end up turning on him because the Man in Black was there before him. And the preacher that they follow in this town is a woman of big stature. He talks about her, how attractive she is despite her stature and whatnot. But basically, she had lain with the Man in Black and was impregnated by him. And let me just tell you what, it's not cool how Roland takes care of that end. I'm not going to go into it because it's just really messed up. But to get out of this town, because the preacher has basically said that he is, a snake, he's not right, blah, 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 they have to kill him. He kills everybody. Okay? So, after he gets out of this town, which is, rough, as I've said, he starts making his way through the desert, because that's pretty much, all the land is that you see up into this point is desert. And at a way station, he meets a young boy named Jake. So, Jake, he is, I don't think he's more than 12, I want to say, 11 or 12 or somewhere in there. Jake died in our world, via the Man in Black, and ends up here in Roland's world, in Midworld. Um, from what Roland deduces and what it ends up being is a test from the Man in Black. It's basically, he makes it to where Roland cares for this kid and, basically makes him sacrifice him. It's like he can either have Jake live or sacrifice Jake to get to Walter to get to the Dark Tower. So, yeah, Jake dies again because Roland chooses to sacrifice Jake in order to get to the Man in Black get answers about the Dark Tower and whatnot. So when he sacrifices Jake, he does have a palaver with the Man in Black, and Walter, which is his name as I stated, does his a reading for Roland with the tarot cards. And in these tarot cards, there's the Prisoner, the Lady of Shadows, and Death. But, he does tell Roland, but not for you, Gunslinger. So, this is a setup for the second book in the series, The Drawing of the Three, which you learn about who those characters are and whatnot. I don't want to spoil it because I haven't gotten to that book yet, as far as reviewing it, so I'm not going to go into that. But it's really messed up because time, like, where they have this palaver, it's like basically in a Golgotha filled with like bones, so there's like death all around them. When I read it, which I'm not the only person who has thought this, because they were basically kind of like transported into this place. I wondered if that was not in the Dark Tower itself. Like, and I'm not the only person who's thought this. My brother-in-law has actually thought about this as well. We've talked about it. But, yeah, so that's basically the plot point of that book. Now, let me give you the reasons I didn't really care for the book. So, my main things, it was slow going for me. This book isn't more than 250 pages. There was no reason for this book to take me a month and a half to read. Like, a book like this should have been like a week easy for me, but it was so slow going in parts and dragged on, in my opinion. It was hard for me to get through. And because of that, like, I really didn't want to read it, but, I was told you just got to get past this. It's like so much better in the rest of the series and whatnot. So I was like, all right, so I did. And in the parts that were easy for me to breeze through were like the parts of like, when Roland's talking about his backstory, which I thought was really cool. Like, and then also when he is shooting everybody in Tull. I mean, I'm sorry, it was a really cool scene. But like, things like that, and up to like his conversation with the Man in Black, like, it was really boring. It just didn't work for me. So I had a really hard time getting through it. But overall, like, my favorite character was probably Jake, for sure. He, for being thrust into a world that he knows nothing about, he does fairly well, like, surviving on his own up until meeting the Gunslinger. He even, like, has, like, a heightened awareness of, like, what's dangerous and what's not, which most kids have that sense about them, it's just, but yeah, so I liked Jake's character a lot. Roland, I'm kind of torn on. Like, honestly, like, I don't really care for him personality-wise. I think he's a jerk. There's a stronger word I'd like to use, but yeah. But, I mean, I understand a little bit due to his backstory why he is the way he is, but I don't fully understand it because you're not given a lot of his backstory. So, and I know Stephen King had, like, the edition that I have here, this is like one of the originals that he wrote back in, like, I think the 70s. This is not the updated version, so I don't know if that's different, if there's things added. I wanted to read the original. I didn't want to read it changed, because I know he went back and added it to make it more like um, conducive with the rest of them, so it flowed better. But I mean, I hate to say it, but I didn't really care for this book. I know, like, a lot of people are gonna be mad about that, but let's just be real. Like, it was, there were parts that were enjoyable. I enjoyed some of the story, but overall, like, wouldn't read it again. Like, I just would not read it again. So yeah. Um, yeah, if you guys have any input or anything, or you have any questions, like, just hit me up. I also have a Twitter. My handle is at rogue, ROGUE_hand, HAND. So just, hit me up, follow me, whatever, ask me questions you want. But yeah, so that's my review of Stephen King's The Gunslinger. So on to the second one, The Drawing of the Three, which I've been told is much better. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.